Hey guys, this is Too Fast for Yo, and welcome to the channel. This is going to be a video going over the Detroit Lions roster going into free agency here. So starting off at quarterback, I think the Lions are doing very well. Obviously, we have Matthew Stafford's a great quarterback, and I think our backup quarterback is capable. I think if Stafford went down and Jake Rudock went into a game, I think we'd still have an opportunity to win that game, and you could not say that for most NFL teams. Most NFL teams don't have a backup quarterback that you can trust to go out there and try to win a game. And I think the Lions definitely do have a quarterback that's capable. So moving on to running back, I think it's very likely we will only see one running back return next year, and that will probably be Theo Riddick, just because he has the most versatility and he's shown the most explosiveness in the open field. When he gets the ball, I think he's the best running back on this roster. And I don't think he's very great, but I do think he's by far the best on this team. And I know Amir Abdullah has a lot of talent, but guys like that usually don't last long in this league unless they can figure it out, unless they can get the yards that are there, and unless they make big plays. They usually don't last long. And when I watch Amir Abdullah, it looks like he thinks he's faster than he is. A lot of times it looks like he's trying to do some Chris Johnson stuff. It looks like he's trying to bounce it outside almost every single play. And it's really hard to do that in the NFL. You have to be super fast. And Amir Abdullah is just not... He is fast, but he doesn't have that elite kind of speed. He's not the kind of guy that once he turns the corner, he's pretty much gone. There's a lot of guys that could catch Amir Abdullah in the open field. There's linebackers that can catch Amir Abdullah in the open field. Plenty of them. So if Amir Abdullah ever wants to have some kind of successful NFL career, he has to start running the ball the way the play is designed, and he has to start getting the yards that are there. And I do think if he does that, he could be some kind of valuable player, kind of like a Darren Sproles, kind of like a Danny Woodhead. He's that kind of guy. He's got that short area quickness. He can make guys miss in the open field, and he can make big plays. But he does have to understand his limits, and he has to also understand the things he can do. And I think if he can do that, maybe he'll have a good career somewhere else. But I think Detroit's trying to move on. Now for the rest of the running backs on the roster, it looks like Bob Quinn would try to have 4 running backs going into next season. I think the best way to go about that would be to pick up a running back in the 4th round of this draft. It looks like we might be able to find a good starter in the 4th round. There's a lot of good running backs in this draft. I was watching this scouting combine, and there's quite a few backs over 200 pounds that ran a sub 4.5. I think it's going to be a very good class. It's not just Saquon Barkley. There are some good running backs in this class. I don't think it's worth taking a running back in the 1st round just because you can get the same guy in the 4th round. You can get maybe an edge rusher or a linebacker or something in the 1st round. Now, outside of that, I think we'll probably either sign a really cheap free agent coming up here soon or sign an undrafted free agent after the draft, because there definitely will be some undrafted free agents after this draft at running back. Now moving on to the left tackle, I think we're doing very good at left tackle. I'm pretty sure Eric Decker is going to be a perennial Pro Bowler. I think he's really good when he's healthy. He looks like he's going to be very good, and I think he's going to be good for a long time, and I don't think we're going to have to worry about left tackle for quite a while. However, on the right side of the line on right tackle, we did sign Rick Wagner last year, and he didn't play horrible, but there were times when he really struggled against good pass rushers, which is to be expected. He wasn't amazing in Baltimore. He's definitely more of a run blocker. But I do think we're going to have to draft a tackle in this draft, probably the 3rd, the 5th, or the 6th round. I think we should get a right tackle that can be a backup and maybe start someday, because Rick Wagner, he proved last year that he can't stay healthy, and when he is healthy, he still struggles against the better pass rushers in the league. And he's also not that young. I'm pretty sure he's over 30 years old. And I don't know how much longer he's going to be playing in the league. So it's definitely a good idea to get a right tackle just in case he decides to retire, or somebody to push him to be more competitive for that roster spot going forward. Now moving on to right guard, obviously TJ Lang made the Pro Bowl. He played very well last year. I don't see any issues with him. I know he did have a little injury nick him up, but I don't know if he even missed a game. So I'm pretty sure he's going to be all right. I have a good feeling about that. TJ Lang's a very good right guard, and I have no issues with that one. I don't think we really need to draft anybody there, and I think going into next season we should have a very good right guard. Now on the left guard side, I'm not sure who's going to be playing left guard next year. Travis Swanson and Graham Glasgow, both of them have proved to me that they cannot be reliable starters at either center or left guard. So I think we kind of need to move on for both of them. If I was the Detroit Lions this year, I would go into this draft trying to draft a starter at center, left guard, and probably one of the linebacker positions. Now, that's not the easiest thing to do because good linemen usually go in the first couple of rounds. So now, honestly, I would probably draft a center or a guard in the first round just because there are guys that are expected to go around that range, and we do need replacements at both left guard and center. Now, next we have tight end. Looking at our roster, it's pretty much just Eric Ebron and Darren Fells. All the other guys on this roster have pretty much not done anything in their career. Darren Fells played very well last year, and I would like to see him return another year because he did play very good. He didn't drop passes. He's a great blocker. I think he's a good guy to keep around on this roster, and I think he might be our starter going into next year if Ebron struggles again. Now, I would like to see the Lions try to trade Eric Ebron if they can, because it looks like his stock might be a little high, especially after he had a good finish to last year. So that might be able to help us trade him. But even if the Lions can't trade him, it's not going to be good going forward, because if Eric Ebron has a great year next year, he's going to get a lot of money, and the Lions aren't going to be able to afford it, because he's probably going to get, if he plays anything like Jimmy Graham did a few years ago, he's going to get, 11, 12, 13 million dollars a year, and the Lions cannot afford to pay a tight end that much. So I think it's going to be in the Lions' best interest to try and trade him and to try and draft a tight end, maybe the 5th or 6th round that has some potential, and let Darren Fells kind of show him the ropes, or to sign a tight end in free agency. There'll be a few guys. There's the guy on the Eagles. I can't think of his name, but there's a few guys in free agency this year that can be decent tight ends in the NFL that the Lions could look to pick up. But going forward, I don't see the Lions having Eric Ebron in their long-term plans just because of how much he's going to demand on the open market if he has a good year. And if he doesn't have a good year, the Lions aren't going to probably want to keep him anyway. So I don't really see Eric Ebron sticking around for too much longer on the Detroit Lions. Best try to trade him to get some draft picks. Maybe that'll help us draft a replacement. Now at wide receiver, I'm pretty sure the Lions are going to be fine for at least a couple years, but you have to look at Golden Tate. Golden Tate is obviously our number one wide receiver right now, and he is 30 years old, so he's not going to be able to do that for much longer. But if you look at Marvin Tate doesn't really show up in all of the games. He's very inconsistent. He has a good deep ball threat. He has very good ability to go up and get the ball when the ball's thrown up. But how much can you rely on that? I don't know. He doesn't have great speed, not a great route runner, and I don't know if he can be a number one receiver in this league. I'm pretty sure he can't. Now, maybe Kenny Galladay will be able to pick up that slack in the next couple of years. He will be able to hopefully become that number one wide receiver, and then we won't have to worry about it as much. But I don't think this year's the year to draft a wide receiver because this team has so many dang needs. I think most Lions fans would be upset if we took a wide receiver very early just because we have so many needs, and there's a lot of players in this draft that can fill our needs. Now moving on to the defensive front, I really don't know what the Lions' plans are with Ezekiel Ansah. Obviously, the franchise tagged him, but I really don't understand what they're thinking, because if he plays very well, he's going to demand a huge contract, and we're not going to be able to afford it. He's probably going to get like $60-70 million guaranteed if he has another 14-sack season. Now, I think the franchise tag was like $17 million, but if we franchise tag him again next year, that's going to be 20-something. So it's going to be even more. Do you really want to pay that much to him? I don't know. I think maybe part of the idea here is maybe Matt Patricia is thinking about running kind of a hybrid 34 defense, and maybe they want to see what Ezekiel Ansah can do at outside linebacker, because that would kind of make sense because we never really seen him do that. I would be interested to see if he can do that. He does have the type of ability. He does have the athletic ability to do that for sure. I've never really seen him in zone coverage, but he is the kind of guy that has that speed. He has that jumping ability for sure. And I think if he's a hard worker, he will excel in that system, I think. He has that kind of body type. Now moving on to the rest of the front seven, we have a lot of needs here. If we decide to run a 43, I think we need to draft another defensive tackle because Haloti Ngata is not coming back. He's going to retire. I do think A'Shawn Robinson can become a good starter in this league, but I don't think he's elite. Usually defensive linemen that are elite come out of the gates right away and they just start playing very well. But A'Shawn Robinson, it doesn't look like he's an elite player, and I don't think he ever will be at this point. So we have to be able to think, okay, maybe if we're running a 43, we definitely need to get another defensive tackle and draft him probably pretty high and hope that he can be a very high caliber player. Now looking at Anthony Zettel on the other side, I think he's one of the Lions' best defensive starters in the front seven, which isn't saying a whole lot because he's not amazing. But he's good enough to start, and I don't think the Lions are going to try to replace him in this offseason or in this draft because we have so many other needs. Obviously, we do need to get a defensive tackle, and I think we need to address the linebacking position as well. But if we decide to run a 34, I think we need to draft a defensive tackle as well, because if we run a 34, I don't think A'Shawn Robinson can be the defensive tackle in the 34. I just don't think he could do that. He's not strong enough. I really don't think he could do that by himself. If we were going to run a 34, A'Shawn would probably move to defensive end, then we would draft a defensive tackle and have Ansah at one of the outside linebacker spots. That would make the most sense to me. So what I kind of think the Lions are going to do going into this offseason is maybe sign a couple linebackers and then draft a couple linebackers and a defensive tackle or something like that. I think that would make the most sense. There are a couple linebackers in this draft that have the ability to rush the passer from the middle linebacker spot, which I think is very interesting because if you look at the way the Patriots draft linebackers, the Patriots don't often draft linebackers that can't rush the passer. So I do think there's a very good possibility that we will draft a few linebackers in this draft that are kind of hybrid, that have the ability to rush the passer and also can do zone coverage very well. And that's kind of what I think the plan is going to be for Matt Patricia, is draft linebackers that have the ability to rush the passer and let them play kind of that defensive end outside linebacker role, as well as have two middle linebackers and maybe send one of them every once in a while to try to get after the quarterback, because that's kind of what the Patriots would do out of the 34 scheme. And that's kind of one of the reasons that I think we might run a 34 is because we don't really have the personnel to run either a 43 or a 34. We pretty much have to draft 2 or 3 starters either way. So I think it would make most sense to probably run that 34 scheme that he likes to run so much, because I think that might make him more comfortable calling plays, and that might make our defense a little better and a little more aggressive, which is always a great thing. Now looking at the linebackers, I think Jared Davis is going to be very good, but even if we run a 43, then we have to draft outside linebackers that can play better zone coverage and can get up and defend the run, because Tahir Whitehead is not very good. So I do think we need to get a replacement for Tahir Whitehead, as well as the other linebacker spot. I don't really think Paul Worlow played very well. Jalen Reeves-Maybin wasn't horrible. I think what's probably going to happen is if we do the 34 defense, I think it's going to be Jared Davis on the inside, Ezekiel Ansah on the outside, and then maybe Jalen Reeves-Maybin on the other outside linebacker spot, and then like Tahir Whitehead and Paul Worlow fighting for that other middle linebacker spot. And that would be our roster. That's kind of why I think we need to draft more guys, because Paul Worlow, Jalen Reeves-Maybin, and Tahir Whitehead are not great players, and we know this. So how long can you keep playing with players that you know aren't going to pan out? I think you should keep drafting guys, and hopefully one of them sticks and becomes a great player. And I think that's the way we should do this front seven, is I think we should just keep drafting guys, because we do not have the talent right now to be a good defense at the linebacking spot or in the front seven. Now looking at cornerback, obviously Darius Slay is a beast, but outside of Darius Slay, I really don't know what's going to be going on there. It looks like Teez Tabor is probably going to be more of a slot guy. I think he might struggle a little more outside because of all the speed in the NFL. I don't think it's going to work very well with him. Now, Jamal Agnew definitely has the ability to play on the outside and defend the speed, but if you do that, then he's not going to be as good of a returner. He's not going to have as much ability to make plays in the return game because he's going to be all tired and stuff. So it'd be interesting to see what we're going to do there. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we address the corner position in this draft as well in the first round, because there might be a couple guys that fall and we might be able to get a starting corner in the first round. And I think if we do that, we'd really have to weigh our options, because we might be able to get a good pass rusher, we might be able to get a good corner, we might have the ability to get a great center or a great guard. And obviously a running back. I don't think we should take a running back in the first round, but I'm sure if Darius Geis is there, I'm pretty sure the Lions are going to think about it at least, because he looks like a good pro star running back. Just plain and simple. He's got the speed. He's got the power. He definitely could be a good running back in this league. So there's a lot of options in this first round, and it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. And the way I would probably attack this draft is to go in the first round. I would probably go best player available outside of offensive tackle, quarterback, and receiver. Outside of those three positions, you could pretty much take the best player available, and I think we could have a very good first round. Moving on to safety, looking at the strong safety, Quandre Diggs played very well last year when he went in for Tavon Wilson. Tavon Wilson's a good starter in this league, but I do think Quandre Diggs has a lot more potential to be a great player. He showed it last year. I think he only played 3 games at strong safety, but he played out of his mind. I kind of knew a long time ago that Quandre Diggs would be a better safety than corner, just because he's not the fastest guy, but he is an aggressive tackler, and he does have the ability to go up and high point the ball. He has a great awareness for where the football is when the ball is in the air. He can always go and get it. And then obviously looking at the other safety spot, Glover Quinn's a beast. He's definitely going to be a Pro Bowl type player going forward. And I know 2 years ago he played every defensive snap, and then last year he played a lot of snaps as well. Glover Quinn makes a lot of plays that make our other defenders look better, just because he's limiting a play to just a first down or just a 5-yard gain. He does a great job at everything he does. Glover Quinn's the kind of guy that can play any position on defense in the secondary and be pretty good at it. So I think keeping Glover Quinn around would be a very good idea going forward. Especially at safety, it doesn't really matter if your speed's diminishing a little bit. He's definitely still playing very well, and he's also had the ability to create a lot of turnovers. So yeah, looking at safety, obviously both of our safety positions I think going forward are going to be good. As long as we keep Quandre Diggs at safety, we should be good going forward. So yeah, going into this draft, we're going to have probably a lot of needs, so that's going to allow us to take basically the best player available outside of quarterback, left tackle, right tackle, and wide receiver. And yeah, that's a very good position to be in if you're a guy like Matt Patricia. There could be a guy that falls to you and you just see an immense amount of talent there. That could maybe change the way you want to run your defense just because that guy fell that far. That might open up opportunities to run different types of defensive schemes. So yeah, that's kind of what I think about this roster going forward. I think it's going to be very important what we do in the front 7, especially going forward. I know the offensive line's a mess, but the front 7 is going to be very important because we want to be able to get to the quarterback, and we also want to be able to cover guys. So yeah, guys, that's what I got for this video. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.